morning, everyone. Welcome this beautiful winter morning here to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Northern Nevada, where it is our mission to grow together in love, faith, justice, and joy. My name is Xiomara Rodriguez. My pronouns are her, she, and ella. And I am honored to serve as your worship associate this morning. We welcome you today to this growing and journey community. We welcome all of you to our service, especially those who are searching for spiritual home. Many of us were once too seeking for something larger than ourselves, to which we could belong, a sense to wholeness as we create meaning together. We do this here, not perfectly, but we try. We strive not for perfection, but for authenticity and connection. As Unitarian Universalists is a place where we can be accountable to each other and live in a network of mutual support, where it's our first time, whether this is your first time in the worship, or we hope you will find here questions to stretch you, people to be friend with, and liberal religion to value that change you to join in a loving, boldly, living justly, and welcoming radically. I am so sorry. So welcome to the space of love, support, justice, and compassion, fellowship, and worship. We are glad that you're here. We welcome all to be part of us regardless of racial identity, age, economic circumstances, immigration status, or sexual orientation and gender ID. If you're someone who's viewing this for the first time and this is your exposure, please contact the office or the website for more information. It's also where you could find the newcomer form. And please sign up. The newsletter is great. You can sign up for the newsletter. If you're on Zoom, you can make comments on the chat box anytime, but especially during the Joys and Concern. You will be invited to join us for coffee time immediately after the service. Thank you for being with us, and remember, you're welcome here. Now, I will invite everyone here to take a moment to greet one another and welcome our guests in a manner that is more comfortable for you, a hug, a handshake, or a wave or a smile. For those of you on Zoom, wave to each other or make a little thing that says hello so we could all know that we're connected. Hey! I know. And now, how about if our kids join Nathan, who's in the back, waving, and for some hot chocolate and some time together. Come on, kids, join. It'll be fun. Could I join? It's cold. I need some hot chocolate. Now, our opening today is a bit different this morning. Those that are at home are invited to have your chalice nearby and light your chalice when ours is being lit.
We continue to live in a time of widening economic disparity locally and globally. And so as we enter this Advent season, we ponder how our community, our congregation, might become a house where the holy will be born anew, offering respite, sustenance, and care, opening the doors ever wider to those seeking shelter from the onslaught of life. No one congregation can do it all, but each can do something. And as we ponder our calling to care for our neighbors, may we be filled with the light of hope, the light of peace, the light of joy, and the light of love.
Peace waits for our acceptance of the truth that we are blessed. In this time of preparation for the work of co-creation, for the birthing of a world of gentleness and play. Peace is born in us each day.
And so today we offer the light of hope to illumine our door of welcome. May this light shine in our hearts, in our lives, and in our fellowship. May hope awaken us to possibilities, leading us to greater hospitality. There is room in the inn, a place for everyone. And so we also offer the light of peace to illumine our door of welcome. May this light also shine in our hearts, in our lives, in our congregation. May peace awaken us to possibilities, leading us to greater hospitality. There is room, a place for everyone.
Please sit down.
And so this morning we look to expand the ways in which we look at hospitality and opening our doors ever wider. And as we often do here at UUFNN, and as you use in general, we want to lift up the things that are important to marginalized peoples. And so this morning our service is about looking at icons that kind of bleed the lines between saints and deities, but are important to folks in different cultures. And so today we explore Santeria and the Virgen de Guadalupe. What I want you to allow to turn on its head as we do this morning is the religious, non-traditional gendering of Santeria and the Virgen de Guadalupe. We know in mainstream religions, the deities are often referred to as male and have been for some centuries. And I will share with you that many of you know that every Sunday morning in the RGJ, there's a full-page column called the Faith Forum, and a dozen or so of us faith leaders write for that every week. And the question that came to me last week that will come out in the paper next Sunday that I wrote on was, why does God do what he does? And so, as you can imagine, I had a little bit to say about the gendering of the question before I could begin to say, so I'm sure that there will be some discussion about how that's going to be printed, but I get to be the UU voice, so there we are. So today, what we're doing in part then is looking at the feminine face of the divine in a way that has opened up and really exploded traditional views of what God and what the divine is about to the lifting up of the feminine in a way that's been so powerful for so many people. So as we move through the morning, I want you to, that's the lens I want you to bring to it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So with that, Emily Montan has graciously offered to share with us a little bit about her knowledge of Santeria.
Good morning. I'm so glad to see all of you here and those of you on Zoom. Thank you for joining us. Some of you may know that I am an unusual UU. I was raised one. Because of this, I have always had a fascination with other faiths and spiritual practices. See, I'm wearing my pagan thing. Because of this, I have always had I went to a Presbyterian church, a Lutheran church, a Catholic service where I took communion. Friends service in RE, I went several times with my friend, and even American Muslim temple in the 70s. I've been to Black Methodist services, a White Baptist service, an Episcopal service, and an evangelical Christian service. The most interesting service or ritual, other than UU, of course, I have ever experienced is the Feast of Santa Barbara. It is held on December the 4th, so it seemed appropriate for this time of year, for this story. I went as a 17-year-old with my school pal, Sue, and her mother. It was held late at night in Brooklyn, New York. And on the way, Sue's mother spoke of the celebration, but she shrouded it in mystery and secrecy. I had no idea at that time about Santerian practices. I found this feast wonderful in its duality of the saint and its flavor of paganism as opposed to Catholicism. I didn't hear anyone speak of Jesus, but it was all in Spanish. And it was unlike any spiritual practice I had ever experienced, even more unusual than the evangelical Christian church. I was raised to ask questions and learn about other spiritual practices. So I persisted in asking this woman, my friend's mother, about the festival. And she continued to evade by making it seem scary. However, I decided to go for it. I was going to fully embrace everything that was going to happen. Unfortunately, most of the celebration was done in Spanish, which I had studied in high school, but I still didn't know enough to follow the conversation and the spoken part of the feast. It was held in a large basement of the priest's home. There was a fabulous altar with handmade effigy of the two spirits, Santa Barbara, Chango, lights, flowers, and other decorations. And Cubans' tradition dictates that you offer also apples, roses, cigars, and rums. So that was all on the altar. The practitioners were of all ages, wearing red and white and smoking cigars. There was a continuous rhythm of drumming and singing and dancing. Yes, the Feast of Santa Barbara celebrates two saints, deities. One is a woman whose father kept her locked in a tower to keep her from interacting with the outside world. But she kept steadfast to her Christian faith and was eventually killed by her own father's sword. The other dual celebrant is Shango. He is the patron of music, drumming, and dancing. He represents male beauty and virility. There he is up there. Passion and power. In human form, Shango was a king in Oyo, the Yoruba ancestral home. As an Oricha, that was his tribe, he shows many qualities we associate with human kings, including acknowledgement as a leader, so he doesn't have to take orders from anyone. He was a deity the slaves adored. Santa Barbara is often portrayed with a crown, miniature chains, swords, and a tower. Santa Barbara continues to be a popular saint in modern times, perhaps best known as the patron saint of armorer, artilleryman, military engineers, miners, and others who work with explosives. Because of her legend's association with lightning and fire, Shango fits perfectly as he's the Santarian god of fire, lightning, and thunder. In Afro-Cuban religion of Santeria, Santa Barbara is syncretized with Shango, meaning they put them together. So as folks ate, smoked cigars, and danced to the drumming, some got the spirit and began speaking in tongues. Again, this was done by celebrants of all ages, which surprised me, especially when I saw a young woman my age flailing around speaking in a strange language. No, it wasn't Spanish, it wasn't Spanish. Each person, including my friend and I, were given a psychic reading by the priestess. Everyone who attends must participate in this. I don't remember what she said. They did interpret it in English, but I remember it wasn't very significant. My tarot cards read me better. After we arrived home, Sue and I complained about our mother's behavior again and went to sleep. That was it. I still wished I had known to wear white and red and knew more Spanish. I respect the Santeria practice as it's older than Christianity. There are many similarities to it in other faiths, but because it is pagan, it is invisible to most. These days, the feasts are not shrouded in mystery and secrecy. Much like UUism, it's not popular with mainstream religions. And at that time, it was much like old Judaism. The practitioners had to keep their faith a secret. Duality exists in nature as well as intersectionality. The meeting of Christianity and paganism is fascinating in its results. The duality of this feast honors both women and men. Sorry, non-gender folks, that was for Nathan. Which makes it more powerful to me. It also reminds me that although I'm an atheist, I am a UU, and the honoring of brave women like Barbara and honoring the slaves in Cuba who believed and worshiped Shango is part of my spirituality and my UU principle and practices. We need to honor and respect all faiths, not just mainstream religious services. Now, when I smell cigars, I go back to that basement and smile.
Jubilate Deo, jubilate Deo, Alleluia. Jubilate Deo, jubilate Deo, Alleluia. Jubilate Deo, jubilate Deo, Alleluia.
We take these few moments to join our hearts and our minds and our spirits and our full embodiment in a moment of community prayer and meditation. There is much to rejoice about this week. The events in Georgia earlier this week, the fact that Congress has protected same-sex marriage, the fact that Brittany Griner has returned home to her wife and family. And so we're grateful for all of those who have stepped up to work on those particular events with courage and with bravery to make those happen. And I also wanted to hold up concerning efforts at voter suppression and the recent election. I was moved by a report that I read about in Philadelphia, a voting site that was changed last minute that has been in use for many, many years. And so what happened is the UUs there showed up at the old voting place to drive folks to the new voting place. And the UUs were the only ones who did, not the city, not the county, not law enforcement, not election officials. It was the UUs who showed up to make sure that those people can vote. And it's things like that that make me proud to be who we are. So we are in gratitude for those who show up and step out to make a difference, to make things happen. And so whatever is on our hearts this morning, our celebrations, our joys, our awe and wonder at the beauty of the snow, our fears, our worries, we gather them all together for a time of reflection, solidarity, being held in community. And so we take just a few moments for reflection, and we invite those who are on Zoom with us to record what is on your hearts in the chat. In this time of Advent, this time of preparation and waiting, this time of drawing near to hope and to peace and to joy and to love, we celebrate with those who are celebrating milestones, accomplishments, and we draw near to those who are in grief and loss, those who are suffering, those who are in fear and worry, May we be the hand to hold that someone is looking for. We remember all those who are ill, who are depressed. May we be a presence. And in remembering that we are that presence, we offer our gesture one to another, which is one hand on the heart, hand extending forward as a way of putting our energy of love into the world with the message, I see you, I hear you, and we are indeed all in this together. Blessed be, and amen.
We give to remind ourselves how many gifts we have to offer. We give to remember that we're part of something bigger than ourselves. We give because we believe in music and sacred spaces. We give with the faith that together we have enough. We know that our financial contribution to this congregation comes from sacrifice and hard work. We are so grateful for this. For those of us that are physically here in the sanctuary, we will be passing the basket. For those of us that are on Zoom, you can do your offering virtually by texting 73256, putting UUFNN in the message box and hitting send. Then follow the instructions to provide your offering. You could also mail a check to the office at 780 Del Monte Lane, Reno, Nevada 89511. Or the fastest and best way to donate is to sign up for automatic giving. Contact the office and Carol will send you an automatic draft authorization form or pull it from the website, which is what I did. Here on UUFNN, each month, we also gives folk the opportunity to share our generosity by sharing with a designated nonprofit. The December Share the Plate recipient is Women and Children Center of the Sierra, WAC. WAC offers a variety of services to help women escape poverty in order to provide a better life for themselves and their families. This includes high school equivalence test preparation, English as a second language classes, computer training, diaper bank, getaway to success jobs readiness, job placement program, Medicaid, sign up, Site for Hope clinic, free clothing, toiletries, cleaning supplies and paper products, baby items, and food as available. This core service are augmented by potty training classes, parenting classes in collaboration with the Washoe County School District Family Resource, SNAP sign up, food bank for the Nevada, and free children book distribution. So with that said, please thank you for your generosity, and may the offering begin. if you could help me with David, blessed these offerings to the work of this fellowship, which is helping more people grow in love, faith, justice, and joy. We dedicate ourselves, and these are offerings.
In 1914, Mykola Leontovich adapted a Ukrainian chant, folk chant, into what is now one of the most beloved Christmas carols. We sing it now in support of the Ukrainian forces and the Ukrainian people, which are facing a terrible, terrible winter. Thank you.
Hark how the bells, sweet silver bells, all seem to say, throw cares away. Christmas is here, bringing good cheer to young and old. Ding and a bowl, ding dong, that is their song. With joyful ring, all caroling. One seems to hear words of good cheer from everywhere, filling the air. Oh, how they love praising the song, all hill and dale, telling their tale. Hey, while people sing songs of good cheer, Christmas is here. Ding dong, merry, merry, merry Christmas. Ring, merry, merry, merry Christmas. Ding, ding, dong, dong, ding, dong, to every home. Dong, dong, bells, sweet silver bells, all seem to sing. The rock is away, Christmas is here. Ding, ding in the bell, ding in the bell, ding in the bell, dong, ding, dong. One seems to hear words of good cheer from everywhere, filling the air. Oh, how they come, raising the sound, party the tale, telling the tale. Hey, while people sing songs of good cheer, Christmas is here. Ding, merry, merry, merry Christmas, merry, 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 merry Christmas. Dong, they sing, dong, ding, dong, dong.
Gonna listen long without end, their joyful tone to every home.
Ding dong, ding dong.
Wow, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. Thank you, guys. La Virgen de Guadalupe. As we celebrate the anniversary of La Virgen de Guadalupe, the Virgin of Guadalupe, first and foremost, I would like to say that I am not a devotee of her or any of the virgins, to be clear, although I grew up with Santeria. I'm mostly devotee to a special saint, San Judas Tadeo, the saint of the impossible. So, some other day I'll tell you about him and everything, but if you know a little bit about me, you know why I am a devotee of the saint of San Judas Tadeo. And there's no need for more explanations after that. But I do understand very firmly that believing in something is and has always been important to us humans. When we feel down, desperate, we find counsel in prayer. Some pray to the universe, some to God, some to saints, and some to virgins. This brings me to today's celebration of the Virgin of Guadalupe, La Virgen de Guadalupe, which is another name for the Virgin Mary, the mother of Jesus. Nuestra Señora de Guadalupe is considered to be a Mexican version of the Virgin Mary. She is depicted with brown skin, better said, piel morena, and black hair, an angel, a moon at her feet, and rays of sunshine that encircles her. She is seen as having a blend of Aztec and Spanish heritage. With these attributes, the Virgin Mary, the mother of Jesus, became more relatable to the people of Latin America, became more accessible to the indigenous, and helped the native embrace Catholicism. Also, another important fact was the story of her apparitions was told in the indigenous language of Nahuatl and in Spanish. Yet, another fact that helped convert the indigenous people of Mexico to Christianity during the time of the conquest. According to tradition, the Virgin Mary appeared to an indigenous man, Juan Diego, on December 9th, 1531. The Virgin asked that a shrine in her name be built on the spot where she appeared, Tepequec Hill, which is now a suburb of Mexico City. It is interesting, at least to me, that La Virgen de Guadalupe, the Virgin of Guadalupe, did not appear in front of an important Catholic leader, but rather to a poor, humble Juan Diego, 4 times, and once to his uncle, Bernardino. Juan Diego was born a Chichimec in the Texcoco Kingdom and was canonized as a saint in 2002. He told the church about the Virgin, but were only convinced after witnessing miracles from her. The story told said that the Virgin of Guadalupe asked Diego to go to Bishop Sumaraca to build her a temple. Sumaraca was skeptical of this apparition and requested evidence, of course. After the 4th and last apparition in December 12th, which is tomorrow, Juan Diego bought Sumarac's roses from Tepequec Hill in his tilma, coke, where, when he delivered them to the bishop, the image of the Virgin was revealed in his clothing. After that, Juan Diego explained everything he had witnessed to Samarac, and then who then believed him. So here's the story. The same tilma, often called manto sagrado, is displayed today in the Basilica de Guadalupe in the city of Mexico, Mexico City. After almost 500 years, the colors remain bright, and no one can explain why. The first apparition occurred on the morning of Saturday, 9 December 1531. Juan Diego experienced a vision of a young woman at a place called the Hill of Tepayac, which later became the village of Guadalupe in the suburbs of Mexico City. According to the accounts, the woman speaking to Juan Diego in his native natal language, the language of the Aztec Empire, identified herself as the Virgin Mary, mother of the very true deity. She asked that the church erect a chapel at the site in her honor. Based on her words, Juan Diego then thought the Archbishop of Mexico City, Fray Juan de Sumaraca, and told him what had happened. But, as expected, the Archbishop did not believe Diego. Later that same day, Juan Diego again saw the young woman, second apparition, and she asked him to continue insisting. The next day, Sunday, December 10th, Juan Diego spoke to the Archbishop for a second time. The latter instructed him to return to Tepeyac Hill and ask the woman for truly acceptable, miraculous sign to prove her identity. Later that day, the third apparition appeared when Juan Diego returned to Tepeyac, encountering the same woman. He reported to her the Archbishop's request for a sign, which she consented to provide the next day, December 11th. On Monday, December 11th, however, Juan Diego's uncle, Juan Bernardino, became ill, which forced Juan Diego to take care of him. In the very early morning hours of December 12th, Juan Bernardino's condition having deteriorated overnight, Juan Diego journeyed to get a Catholic priest to hear Juan Bernardino's confession and help him minister on his deathbed. To avoid being delayed by the Virgin and shame of having failed to meet her on Monday, as agreed, Juan Diego chose another route to Tepeyac. Yet the Virgin intercepted him and asked him where was he going. The fourth apparition. Juan Diego explained what had happened, and the Virgin scolded him for not having faith in her. She told him in words that have become the most famous phrase of the Guadalupe apparitions and inscribed above the main entrance of the Basilica de Guadalupe. She asked, ¿No estoy yo aquí, que soy tu madre? Am I not here, I who am your mother? She assured him that Juan Bernardino now would recover and told him to gather flowers from a summit in Tepeyac Hill, which normally is barren, especially in the cold of December. Juan Diego obeyed her instructions and found Castilian roses, not native to Mexico, blooming there. According to the story, the Virgin arranged the flowers in Juan Diego's tilma or cloak, and when Juan Diego opened his cloak later that day before the Archbishop, the flowers fell to the floor, revealing on the fabric the image of the Virgen de Guadalupe. The next day, on December 13, Juan Diego found his uncle recovered as the Virgin had assured him, and Juan Bernardino recounted that he also had seen her after praying at his bedside, the fifth apparition. She had instructed him to inform the Archbishop of his apparition and of his miraculous cure, and that she had told him she desired to be known by the title of Guadalupe. The Archbishop kept Juan Diego's mantle, first in his private chapel and then in the church on public display. The story of La Virgen de Guadalupe is and have always been very important to the Mexican people. Even today, many pilgrimage to the Basilica de la Virgen to ask for a miracle or to thank for a miracle. On December 12th, every year, it's a national celebration for the Mexican people of the Virgin. But you don't have to be Mexican to believe in La Virgen de Guadalupe. Many people from many nationalities are devoted believers of her. But for the Cubans, it is La Virgen de la Caridad del Cobre. And it's the other slide, there. The history and the legend are mixed together in the story of La Virgen de la Caridad del Cobre. It is believed that 3 Juanes were fishermen, and the Virgin appeared to save them from a terrible storm at sea. It is also believed by some people that a ship carrying the statue of the Virgin Mary was wrecked on the coral reef in the Caribbean, and the statue floated to Cuba. They claim that several times the church officials tried to return the statue to Spain, but each time something unexpected happened and the statue returned to Cuba. They took this as a sign that she wanted to stay in Cuba, which explains why the Cubans feel a special attachment to her. The Cubans refer to her as Cachita. I'm going to put something here. My kid sister's middle name is Caridad del Cobre. My mother believes and was a devotee of the Caridad del Cobre. For me, the importance of these apparitions is that the Holy Virgin Mary appeared to the poor, to those in need, to those that needed to believe. Because we all need to believe in something that is bigger than us, something that will help us through those days. So we ask the universe, we ask God, virgin saints and deities to help. We have faith, and it is that faith in our church which helps us understand, that gives us strength to face illness or the illness of loved ones, the death of loved ones, and any other harsh situation in our lives, to help us find the path in our darkness. For us UUs, we rely on our principles, which I have said many times are not doctrines, but guidance. They guide us towards maybe the third principle, acceptance of one another, and encourage to a spiritual growth in our congregation. Or the fourth principle, free and responsible search for truth and meaning, which indirectly is what all these virgins represent and stand for. Search, guide, and fulfillment of need.
Oh come, Emmanuel, and with your captive children dwell. Give comfort to all exiles here, and to the aching heart bid cheer. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come within as love to dwell. Oh, come, you splendor very bright, as joy that never yields to might. Oh, come and turn all hearts to peace, that greed and war at last shall cease. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come within as truth to dwell. Oh, come, you day spring, come and cheer our spirits by your presence here, and dawn in every broken soul as vision that can see the whole. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come within as light to dwell. Oh, come, you wisdom from on high, from depths that hide within a sigh, to temper knowledge with our care, to render every act in prayer. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come within as hope to dwell. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come within with hope to dwell.
And now it's time for some announcements. But I am going to let Reverend Karen do that. She's better at it than I am.
I want to thank you so much for joining us for our service today and hope that you have received something that you needed as we enter in more deeply into this holiday time. I want to highlight for you some special upcoming services and events that you can put on your calendar and make plans to join us either on Zoom or here in this room. This Friday at 6 p.m., we'll have our Taizé service, which we have not been able to have in person in the last few years. So I'm very excited. It's a gorgeous service by candlelight. Short songs are sung over and over to become a contemplative meditation. It's really a beautiful service. It's our solstice Taizé, really highlighting the solstice. So invite you to be here at 6 for an hour on this Friday. And then on Christmas Eve, we'll have our somewhat UU traditional Christmas Eve service at 5 p.m., and that allows you time to have a lovely Christmas Eve dinner afterwards. And then Christmas Day, we're going to have a potluck at 1 o'clock here. You're welcome to come and bring friends and neighbors to that. It's going to be an alcohol-free event, and we're inviting the AA group who meets here during the week each day to join us for that potluck. So if you can be here for that, that will be a lovely event, and that will be in the other building in the Star King room. And Rosie has an announcement about our Mother's Night event.
Hello, I'm Rosie, and I will be leading a service called Modranit, or Mother's Night, on December 21st at 7 p.m. here in the Great Room. I believe it will also be on Zoom. Right? Yeah, I'll confirm, but I'm positive it'll be on Zoom. Mother's Night is a night where we celebrate just that, our mothers. We celebrate our grandmothers, friends, traditionally feminine family members that, or I should say, family members that are women that have passed away, children, aunts, uncles. We celebrate the lives that they had. And then we also celebrate the lives that we have, our present life, and as women in the divine feminine. And then we celebrate our future, our daughters, our, those that are, may look up to us as mentors. We celebrate the divine feminine on Mother's Night, and it purposefully lands on the solstice, which is fantastic because it helps celebrate that life cycle of death, life, death, rebirth. So it's going to be a beautiful service. I hope that everyone can make it. A word of caution, actually first, you can bring pictures of your loved ones. If you do bring pictures of family, of women that have passed on into the light, please bring pictures of them by themselves. We don't want someone who's alive on the ancestor altar. So please, if you want to bring a picture of your grandmother, your great-grandmother, your mother, any woman in your life that had an influence on you, please, if you're bringing a picture of them for the ancestor altar, make sure they are by themselves. And I think we'll have more in an announcement another time. Yes, Wednesday the 21st at 7 p.m. So thank you, and the choir will be also singing a piece. So, if you want to come sing the choir, sing a beautiful song, please do.
For the Zoom folks, Philip Moore will be with you on Zoom for coffee hour today for the purpose of doing a little surveying of your experience and how we can continue to enhance the worship experience of our Zoom attenders. And finally, if you are here today and planning to attend the prospective member event, the newcomer event that we were to hold after church today, things are a little bit different than we anticipated with the weather, and so we're going to decide together whether we want to proceed today or reschedule. So if you're here today and you'd hope to attend that event, would you have a conversation with me right up here, right after the service, and we'll decide together what we're going to do about that. And would you rise in body or spirit for our benedictions? We have a little different final blessing this morning in the form of a visitor who has been spending time with our children. Go forth in hope and peace and love and joy. Blessed be, amen, and namaste.